To understand the Vietnam War, we need to go back nearly 100 years. In 1887, France took control of Vietnam as part of its colony called French Indochina. Vietnamese people were ruled by foreigners and denied independence. In the 1930s, a revolutionary leader named Ho Chi Minh, influenced by communist ideas, organized resistance against colonial rule. During World War II, Japan invaded Vietnam while France was weak, creating even more chaos. Ho Chi Minh formed a resistance group called the Viet Minh to fight both Japanese and French control. After World War II ended, France tried to take Vietnam back, but this sparked the First Indochina War, setting the stage for a much larger conflict. After World War II, the world entered the Cold War, a global struggle between communism and democracy. Vietnam became one of its key battlegrounds. The Soviet Union and Communist China supported North Vietnam, while the United States backed South Vietnam. American leaders feared the domino theory, the idea that if Vietnam became communist, nearby countries would fall one by one. In 1954, the Geneva Accords divided Vietnam at the 17th parallel into a communist North and a US-backed South. Elections were promised to reunite the country, but they never happened, locking Vietnam into permanent division. South Vietnam struggled from the very beginning. Its leader, Ngo Dinh Diem, ruled through corruption and favoritism, especially toward Catholics, even though most citizens were Buddhist. In 1963, government forces fired on Buddhist protesters, triggering a national crisis known as the Buddhist Crisis. The United States lost confidence in Diem's leadership and quietly supported a military coup to remove him. Instead of stability, South Vietnam fell into chaos. Between 1963 and 1965, the country had 12 different governments, making it almost impossible to fight an organized war. In 1964, the U.S. government claimed that North Vietnamese forces attacked an American ship, the USS Maddox, in the Gulf of Tonkin. Although the details were unclear, the incident gave President Lyndon B. Johnson the support he needed from Congress. The Gulf of Tonkin resolution gave the president broad power to use military force, without officially declaring war. By March 1965, American soldiers landed in Vietnam as combat troops. This marked the start of full U.S. involvement in the ground war. Once American troops arrived, the war escalated rapidly. U.S. troop numbers exploded, reaching over 543,000 soldiers by 1969. American strategy focused on a war of attrition, trying to wear down the enemy by inflicting heavy casualties. But the U.S. faced a difficult challenge: guerrilla fighters who blended into jungles and villages. To counter this, the military used tactics like Agent Orange, a chemical sprayed to destroy jungle cover. These tactics caused long-lasting health problems for soldiers and civilians, effects that are still felt today. In 1968, the war reached a turning point. North Vietnam launched the Tet Offensive, a massive surprise attack on over 100 cities, including the U.S. Embassy in Saigon. Although U.S. and South Vietnamese forces eventually pushed back the attacks, Tet shocked the American public. It proved the enemy was far stronger than U.S. leaders had claimed. At the same time, Americans saw disturbing images on TV, including protests and the My Lai massacre, where U.S. troops killed hundreds of civilians. Public support for the war collapsed, and many Americans began demanding an end to the conflict. President Richard Nixon introduced a new plan called Vietnamization, gradually pulling U.S. troops out while training South Vietnamese forces to take over. American troop numbers steadily declined after 1969. In 1971, the Pentagon Papers were leaked, revealing that the U.S. government had misled the public about the war for years. Finally, in 1973, the Paris Peace Accords were signed. The United States agreed to withdraw its troops, ending direct American involvement. Without U.S. troops, South Vietnam quickly collapsed. In April 1975, North Vietnamese forces launched a final offensive. Tanks rolled into Saigon, the capital of South Vietnam. Desperate evacuations followed, with helicopters lifting people from rooftops. The war officially ended, and Vietnam was unified under communist rule as the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. The Vietnam War was not just about weapons. It was about belief and motivation. South Vietnam's government was weak and corrupt, and many citizens didn't believe in its cause. North Vietnam and the Viet Cong, however, fought for nationalism, independence, and anti-imperialism. They gained support from civilians and were willing to endure massive losses. As one U.S. general later admitted, South Vietnam was never strong enough to survive on its own. The United States entered Vietnam as a superpower, but it fought a limited war. Political pressure, media scrutiny, and concern for public opinion restricted how fully America could commit. President Johnson feared losing support at home, so the war effort remained constrained. North Vietnam, however, fought a total war for national survival and reunification. Willing to endure any sacrifice, they outlasted a stronger enemy that had limits. The Vietnam War was not just a local conflict. It was a proxy war, meaning powerful nations fought indirectly through smaller countries. North Vietnam did not stand alone. It received massive support from the Soviet Union and Communist China. This support included weapons, ammunition, supplies, training, and economic aid. While North Vietnamese fighters were highly motivated and skilled in guerrilla warfare, this level of sustained support made long-term resistance possible. The war became part of the larger Cold War struggle, with Vietnam caught between global superpowers competing for influence. As the war dragged on, the United States began losing something just as important as battles overseas: public support at home. American casualties increased, progress seemed unclear, and many citizens questioned why the war continued. Television and newspapers played a major role. Graphic images and reports, especially after the Tet Offensive, contradicted government claims that victory was near. This fueled a powerful anti-war movement, with massive protests across the country. Eventually, public pressure forced political change, including Congress limiting presidential war powers. For many Americans, Vietnam became a symbol of mistrust between the government and the people. The human cost of the Vietnam War was devastating. Nearly 58,000 American soldiers lost their lives. More than 1 million North Vietnamese soldiers were killed, along with hundreds of thousands from South Vietnam. Even more tragic, an estimated 2 million civilians died, many caught in the crossfire of bombing, ground combat, and displacement. These numbers remind us that war is never just about strategy or politics. It is about real human lives. The Vietnam War left deep scars on Vietnam, the United States, and the world.